It was budget day in Quebec City on Tuesday, and many analysts say Finance Minister Carlos Leitao played Santa Claus, announcing billions of dollars of new spending for health, education, and public transit, but no tax cuts. Here to give us his take is Carl Vallée from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. He joins us on the phone. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning.
Carl, first off, your reaction to yesterday's budget.
Well, this seems to be a pre-electoral spending spree. All of the surplus that had been accumulating, which was more than $4 billion, has all been spent. So this is all money that we think should have gone back to taxpayers. When the government has a surplus, it is not because it's spending not enough. It's because it's overtaxing its own people. We think that money should belong to taxpayers, and unfortunately, it has not gone back into the pockets of taxpayers.
Carl, there have been some surveys done in Quebec and polls where people say that in fact they kind of want more money spent on social programs, and they don't necessarily care too much about tax cuts. Make the case that tax cuts are actually more important.
Well, when you actually compare ourselves to the rest of the country, we're still way ahead in terms of the tax burden. In fact, if you take the average, say you take the average Ontarian making $60,000 and you compare it to the same taxpayer here, we pay about $3,500 more in taxes than they do in Ontario, which is, of course, significant monies. And I'm not sure that we get better social services in return. I think that there's a lot of waste, a lot of mismanagement, and that it is okay to spend more in health and education, but we can reallocate resources instead of taking more money and spending more money. We can reallocate resources to make sure that the fundamental missions of the state are still being carried out without paying monstrous income tax rates as we are here.
Carl, do you think this was a sort of an election year budget for voters, or do you think actually the Liberals wanted to make a bigger splash for voters? They would have gone the taxpayer route, the tax cut route.
Well, I think that they wanted to make a lot of groups happy, and that's what they did by spending all of the money. I think that it would have been a smarter move, electorally speaking, to go with the tax cut route, because there are a lot more taxpayers than there are groups. And ultimately, the ones who will foot the bill for all of that spending will be the taxpayers. So they should always keep that in mind. And we're not really thrilled to see that the government has increased the spending by up to 5%.
Carl, is there anything in this budget that you and the Canadian Taxpayers Federation actually like?
Yes. In fact, they've put money aside to reimburse part of the debt, over $10 billion over the next few years. That is actually great news, because it will mean that the annual interest payments that we pay to the folks that we owe money to will go down every year. We have to remind ourselves that almost $10 billion every year go out just to pay the interest on the debt. This is money that we are literally burning because it doesn't serve any other purpose than to pay interest. That money will go down because we're going to repay the debt. That is a good move, and we did applaud that.